for the second session of the day, we have Professor S. Subramanian, who will be talking on data collection. So we have been discussing how important data is since yesterday. And fueled by data, there are several things that you can do, especially for your research. And that is why data collection has been chosen as a very unique topic. And Sir has gracefully accepted to speak on the topic, its importance. So, Dr. S. Subramanian is Professor, Department of Textile Technology. He is also the Chairperson, Faculty of Technology of Anna University, Chennai. Sir has a BTech in Textile Technology from PSG College. He has an MTech from IIT New Delhi and a PhD from Anna University and a postdoctoral fellowship from Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, USA. With 7 years of industrial experience in Voltas Limited and Mafatlal Industries, 22 years of teaching and research experience in the Department of Textile Technology of Anna University. He has also received the Best Outgoing Student Award in PSG Tech, Proficiency Award, Presitex Award and the Innovation Award from Anna University. He has received 2 patents and he has also applied for 3 more, visited countries like the Italy, Czech Republic and USA for submitting and publishing papers in conferences, participating in training programs. He has organized 8 seminars, workshops, carried out 10 sponsored research projects and does a lot of consultancy work, published 15 papers in national and international conferences and 25 papers in the international journals. So we have a very versatile personality here who is experienced both in the industry and the academics, and Sir will be talking to us about data collection today. Over to you, Sir.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Okay. See, in the yesterday's session and today morning also, you must have received inputs related to the research, types of research, and what are all the steps for carrying out the research. Is it? Have you, do you know these things? What is research? What is research? Finding the? Okay. Any other definition? Please be loud, madam. Okay. Answering the unanswered problems. Okay. Searching knowledge. Okay, you can give many definitions for research. And what are all the 2 broad classifications of research? 2 broad classifications. I am not asking where you do the research, in the college or the industry or the research organization. I am asking how can you classify the research into 2 broad class. There is a classification, no, 2 broad classification. Okay. Basic research, applied research, correct. Basic research, applied research. The science faculty normally do the basic research and some applied research. Engineering scholars normally do little basic research but more applied research. Okay, for any research, what are all the steps involved? Suppose you are starting your PhD work, what are all the steps involved? What will you do first? First, identifying the problem. How will you identify the problem? No, literature, many, say if you see the literature, it's infinite, no? How will you select a particular topic over which you will be doing the survey, correct? How will you select that one? Domain of interest. Again, it is broad. How will you narrow it again? Domain of interest is suppose mechanical engineering. Under mechanical engineering, how will you again based on the past knowledge and okay, scope. What is there any scope in doing that particular research? Okay. Now you identified the area. After identifying the area, what would you do? So you have identified that suppose you want to do some treatment on the metals to improve its property. Okay, this is the area. After that, what will you do? Pardon? Literature survey. Okay. After literature survey? Research gap. Okay. Then? Correct. Research gap. You will find the research gap so that you can do the research to fill the gap. Okay. Next step? Evaluate the gap. Okay. Next? Okay. How will you plan? No, planning is not at this stage. After finding the lacuna, you are fixing your objective. So how will you fix your objective? So that is very important. Fixing the objective is very important. So normally what mistakes the scholars will do while fixing the objective itself, they will just jump into some 2-3 objectives within 1 or 2 months. Then they will try to search the literature related to the objective. So that is not the correct one. You have to do the literature, and based on the literature, what are all the limitations or what are all the things not available till date, and based on that you have to fix the objective. After fixing the objective, what will you do? Okay, you have fixed some 2-3 objectives. Then okay, one main objective, then sub objectives. Then what will you do? Okay, frame the methodology. Okay, next. No. After fixing the methodology, you should not go for data collection. That is the problem. You have to fix the hypothesis. See, normally we will think that hypothesis is only relevant for the experimental work. No, it's for the qualitative type of experiments also, or qualitative type of data also. First you have to fix the hypothesis. For fixing the hypothesis, there are 2 things. One is at the beginning itself you can fix the hypothesis, or you have to do some preliminary work. You have to collect data, and based on the data you have to fix the hypothesis. Then you have to again go to the problem, analyze the problem, then again you redefine the hypothesis. Once you fix the hypothesis, and after that only you have to collect the data either to prove it or disprove it. Suppose you are fixing the hypothesis that you by the treatment of metal with this type of chemicals or something, the strength of the material will improve, or the surface finish of the material will improve. Like that you are fixing some hypothesis. Then you have to design the experiment. After designing the experiment only you have to do the data collection. But for fixing the design of experiments, you should know the hypothesis. Otherwise, how will you know the variables? You should know the variables. Suppose treatment of metal. Treatment of metals involves different variables. Maybe the chemicals, the heat treatment, the temperature. There are so many variables. You have to select the variables and the relationship between the variables, and based on that only you have to design the experiment. That is very important. How will you design the experiment? There are different methods like factorial design, then box and Hankins method. Like that different experimental designs are there. You have to select a suitable experimental design. Then after designing this, again you have to go through the things. You do some preliminary data collection, and after doing the preliminary data collection you ensure that whatever you are doing is correct, your way is correct. Then you do the exhaustive data collection. Data collection may be experimental based, or it may be, in the case of social science type of research, you will be collecting the data through questionnaire or interview. By different means you will be collecting the data, but everything you have to do after fixing your all the other things. Like first you have to identify the problem. After identifying the problem, you have to redefine the problem. You have to define, redefine. That means you understood the problem, then you define what exactly you want to do. Then for that you have to collect some literature. After collecting the literature, that is called secondary data. Whatever data you are generating through the experiment by your own, that is called primary data. Whatever data you are collecting from the literature already available, that is called secondary data. Now you can use secondary data, or sometimes secondary data may not be available. For certain problems, the secondary data may not be available. In that case, you have to do the exploratory research. That is, you have to do the preliminary work. That preliminary work may be qualitative type or quantitative type. What is the qualitative? What is quantitative? Quantitative means by numbers, you can quantify. Suppose here I am counting how many boys are there and how many girls are there. That is called counting. That is a quantification. What is qualitative? Whether you like the lecture or not, that is qualitative. So here also you can take the data. Out of 50, 20 scholars like the lecture, 30 students do not like the lecture. So by quantitative or qualitative, you can collect the data, or you can use the secondary data. Using this, you have to fix your objectives. After fixing your objectives, you have to design the experiment. After designing the experiment, you go for experiments. You check whether whatever the data you are collecting is fitting to the model. Once it is okay, then you do the remaining part of the research. So that is the step. Okay, here how many of you have are teachers now? Teachers, who are all teachers now? Okay, only few. All the others from industry, or after completing your PG you came? After completing your PG, okay. You are a teacher now. From industry. L&T, good, very good. Okay. Now again, there is normally, so what is your aim after doing PhD? You leave the teachers who are presently working and the industry. What about others? What is your focus? What will you do after your PhD? Okay, now you have to make your mind before starting your research. You please make your mind whether you are interested in the teaching again, you are going for teaching, or PDF. That is one area. And another area is industry. Nowadays, PhD scholars, after completing PhD, you have the scope to work in the industry also. Many industries are recruiting PhD people for their R&D, and also quality assurance they are recruiting, they are taking. And the salary given by the industry is more than what you will get in the teaching. So now itself you fix your mind, or you select the way in which you want to do your PhD. And if you are interested in doing your PhD, if you are doing the PhD for joining any industry, then you select the problem, you identify some company, you work with them. Some big corporates are there and they have problems. If you talk to them, they encourage. Actually, I am from textile industry. In the textile mills, if the scholar is approaching the textile company, they are giving the problem. You can work on the problem, then after that you can join. That is also possible. Like UG and PG students are doing project work in the industry and they join after completing their work, PG and UG. Similar to that, in the PhD also now scope is there. You can approach the company, you can take the problem, then systematically you do the project and find the solution. You can join the company, same company, or later on you can switch over to some other company also. Okay. Now we'll go to the data collection. See, this is what we discussed: building blocks of research, observation of phenomena, identifying the problem, developing hypothesis, developing research design, collecting data, analyzing data, interpreting results. This is the sequence. This is the sequence. Now again, I want to tell you a thing here. After collecting the data, see, when you collect the data, I told you, you collect the data, you check the data whether they are relevant, they will answer your hypothesis. That is very important. See, after collecting the data, if you find that your hypothesis is different and whatever data you have collected will not answer your hypothesis, then there is no use. That is the first thing, because while fixing the hypothesis, you have selected some variables. Those variables are not included in your research design and collection of data, then it will not answer your hypothesis. So you have to collect the data, you have to check for the relevance. Then important thing is you analyze the data immediately after collecting the data, because I have seen some scholars, they collected the data in the Excel sheet itself, nearly 200 sheets. For 200 sheets they have collected the data, but after 1 year, 1.5 years, he has forgotten the for what that is taken. See, he has the data, he has forgotten the problem for which it was taken, and also what are all the variables considered. Those things he has forgotten after 1.5 years. Now he wants to use the data, interpret the results and publish the paper. The problem is he himself has forgotten. Then who will help him? The guide cannot help, because the guide is having 10-15 scholars. He cannot devote his full attention to the scholar. The scholar should only know. This is one problem. Another problem is, after collecting the data, some scholars do the mistake. They do the experiment continuously for 6 months, 1 year, collect the data, and what they will think, okay, we will collect the data, we will work in the lab, and after collecting the data for 1 year, then we will do the interpretation analysis, then we will communicate the paper and write the thesis. That is also wrong. What will happen? After collecting the data for 1 year, when you start interpreting this, or when you go to your supervisor, then he will say this is missing. A factor which is very important is missing in your data, you have to repeat it again. Then your whole work for 1 year will be waste. So you analyze the data immediately, so that you analyze the data immediately and also discuss with your supervisor after completing the data collection. That is very important, because if there is something missing, you can do immediately. You can include it immediately. So planning is very important. Before collecting the data, planning is important. You should not repeat the work again and again. I have seen the scholars, the same work, they collect the data 4-5 times. They collect the data, go to the supervisor, discuss, and during that time he will say, okay, this is not the correct design, or this is not, you missed these variables, then you include it. He will include it again, he will do the experiment. Like that you should not repeat before collecting the data, because when you do the experiment and collect the data, or you go to the people and collect the data, in both the cases it is you have to spend more time and also money. So many things are involved, no? So you should not repeat again and again. You plan, then after planning you discuss with your supervisor, then you collect the data. That is very important. After collecting the data, analyze the data immediately, interpret the results, then you will understand. You write the note. Even if you are not communicating immediately, you write the note. This is what you got from the data. After interpreting the results, you make the report, so that you will not forget this later on. After 1.5 years also you will remember and you can send. But very important thing is, after collecting the data, why should you wait for 1.5 years? You can write the paper and immediately you can send. But sometimes the problem is the supervisor may not be available, or the supervisor may be busy with other work. In those cases, you prepare the report based on the data collected, you analyze, you prepare the report. Whenever he is free, you can go to him and then finalize the paper. But you have to prepare. If supervisor is not available, or if supervisor is busy, you don't keep the data as such. Okay. So what will happen? after 1.5 years, if you don't, when you go to the supervisor, he may say some other variables or something. So you discuss with the supervisor immediately. You write note. You may not be sending the paper immediately. Okay. See, this is already we have discussed. Then this is the DIKW pyramid. Someone talked about this already? No. The starting point is the data, then information, knowledge, wisdom. So what is data? Data is any number. Suppose if it is a quantitative data, you will get number. If it is a qualitative data, you will get some other answer. So suppose your question is a company is making a new ice cream. It wants to get the data from the public. How about the taste of the ice cream? How will you get? Maybe excellent, then very good, satisfactory, poor, like that. You can give the different answers, and from that they can select. That is also a data, qualitative data. But after getting the data is raw. From the data only you have to get the information. For example, I am getting the data which is available in the website also. Data is red signal. In the signal, in the road signal, the red signal is the data. Whether it is conveying something, it is conveying what? Knowledge, information. It is conveying the information that you have to stop. Then knowledge. Then what knowledge it is giving? You have to stop, and again when it is when red goes off, then you have to move. So like that it goes step by step. Data is the raw thing. It's a raw. It's a number. It may not be a number also in the case of qualitative data, but from the data you have to make it as useful for getting some information. Then knowledge, wisdom. This is the pyramid. So these are all the definitions. Okay, quantitative data, qualitative data. Say quantitative data is related to how much, how many, how often. How much means what? Quantification, no? How much quantity, how much numbers, how many, then how often, how frequently. These are all related to the quantitative data. So again in the quantitative data you have two types of data. One is discrete and other one is what? Continuous. One is discrete and other one is continuous. What is discrete? What is discrete data? Okay, any other answer? What is discrete? What is discrete? Discrete is like counting. You are counting the number of people, or like how many. How many is related to discrete. How many defects? How many people? Such type of things are discrete. It is giving some number. Continuous means it is measurement, like temperature. It's not the number. Like you are keeping the temperature from 30 to 60 degree, 30 degree, 32 degree, 35 degree, like that you are measuring and giving the value. That is continuous. So this is the quantitative data. Qualitative data, the examples are smell, taste, texture, attractiveness, color. These things are related to the qualitative data. Now we will think that whether statistical analysis is possible with the qualitative data, because in the case of quantitative data you have the numbers. So using the numbers you can do the central tendency, like you can take the mean, you can take the standard deviation, coefficient of variation, like that you can do lot of statistical work. Then you can do the hypothesis testing also. In the case of a qualitative data, whether it is possible to do the statistical analysis. See, like suppose the same example I am giving. You take the ice cream, the company developed the ice cream. It wants to get the information on the taste of the ice cream. So it is giving to the 200 customers to taste and give the opinion. You have collected the data, like some people they have marked like excellent, very good, like that they have marked. Now you have the data. Using this data, can you do the statistical analysis? Okay, if it is on the scale, it is different. If it is not on the scale, like excellent, very good, good, satisfactory. Yes, you can convert the qualitative data into quantitative data and do the statistical analysis. See, primary data, secondary data. The primary data is the data collected by you. You do the experiment or you collect the data from the public. That is the primary data. Secondary data is data which is already available in the journals, in the books, in the thesis. These things are secondary data. Where will you use secondary data? Primary data, okay, that is very important for the PhD work. You have to collect the data. That is very important. With that only you have to do the analysis to come to some conclusion. Where will you use the secondary data? Comparison, okay. Okay, that is for comparison. Okay. Yes, for the literature review, initially you will be doing this secondary data. You will be referring the literature, and from that only you will be getting your objectives and fixing your problem. Apart from that, develop some theory. Developing theory. The answer is what she gave is developing the theory. You can use the secondary data. Yes, the answers are correct. You can use the secondary data to fix the problem. You get the secondary data, fix the problem. Sometimes while doing the experiment itself, in some cases you can use the secondary data, as you said, for comparison. And the other one is the secondary data is, suppose you get some material, the material properties are already available, then you need not test again unless you want to find some difference, so that you want to know exactly what is there in the material what you have purchased. In that case you have to do the experiment. Otherwise whatever available in the, suppose you are purchasing sulfuric acid, you need not test it for its characteristics. So you can take whatever available. Like that there are different things where secondary data you can take directly. In the case of a primary data, you have to do the experiment. That may be qualitative or quantitative. Next one is data collection. This is what we discussed. Then accurate and appropriate data collection is very important. What do you mean by accurate and appropriate data collections? Improper data, I will tell you improper data, what are all the problems due to improper data. Then this will give answer for accurate and appropriate data collections. You have to avoid these things for improper data. The first one is inability to answer research question accurately. This is very important. Suppose you do the data collection, if the data is not answering a research question accurately, then there is no use. For example, you want the data in milligram. So you measure the weight of the chemicals, that should be in milligram. Suppose you are measuring in grams, then there is no use. Inability to repeat and validate the study. Sometimes what will happen, you will get the data, again when you repeat it, you will not get the same answer. That is also, there is no use of that type of data. Next one, distorted findings resulting in wasted resources, misleading other researchers to pursue fruitful avenues of investigation, causing harm to human participants and animal subjects. These are the things you have to avoid while collecting the data. The other important thing is integrity of data collection. One is the two types of mistakes are, one is intentional and other one is a sampling error. What is this integrity? In data collections, what integrity you should have? It is going to next level, okay. I think you understand the meaning of integrity. What is why should you need the integrity in data collection? Okay, it should be unbiased. Okay, then you should not copy the data already available and show it as your work. Okay. Okay, these are all plagiarism. When you take the data of others and show that it is your work, then it will come under plagiarism. Apart from this, what other type of issues related to the integrity? Suppose I am collecting the data. See, this is the independent variable, this is the dependent variable. I am getting the values. Now what will you do? If you get this type of data, this is independent, this is a dependent variable, you are changing the independent variable, maybe temperature or pressure or something you are changing, and based on for that you are getting the values. If you get the value like this, if you get one value, what I encircle, no, what will you do? Repeat the test. Any other answer? Okay, why should you repeat this test alone? Why can't you repeat the whole experiment? Why do you think that this is error? I am saying all the other things are error. Okay, now I get another value here, then see, you will get this type of experimental data when you are doing the real experiment. This will come. What will you do? See, normally it should not be done, but what scholars do, they hide these two data. That is the integrity. So if you hide these two data, then what will happen? You will get a straight line and you can form a nice empirical relationship, and the regression coefficient you will get 0.95, and the supervisor also will be happy and your paper also will be accepted. But what is the use of this research? There is no use, no? See, suppose your research is only for getting the PhD, then this will satisfy your requirement, like you will get excellent curve, empirical relationship, regression coefficient, then acceptance of paper, then while defending your thesis also you need not struggle. But when you show the whole data, then everywhere the question will arise, why there is the deviation in these two points? You have to answer everywhere. whenever you are defending your thesis or when you write the paper to the journal, everywhere the question will arise and you have to defend. So what will you do now? So at this stage, what will you do? Suppose if you get the data like this, whether you will repeat only these two experiments or the whole experiment. How many of you say only two? So okay, how many of you say you will leave these two data and report? I know no one of you will raise your hand, because again that will question your integrity. Okay, so how many of you say you will redo the two experiments alone? அதுக்கு யாரும் ஆன்சர் பண்ண மாட்டீங்களா? So how many of you do the whole experiment again? 1, 2, 3, 4. What about others? Not understood the question? See, only three options are there. Either you have to select any one. Which one you will do? No, that's why to confirm it, you have to repeat either two experiments or the whole experiments. No, which one you will select? Which one you will do? Whole experiment. Okay, how many of you do the whole? Repeat the whole experiment. Okay, at least 10 people raise say that you will repeat the experiment again. It's very honest answer and it is very good. But I don't know in the real life whether you will do this because it is a time consuming and cost is involved. But ethically you have to do the experiment again, because you don't know which is correct, because those two things may be correct, other things may be wrong. You don't know what has happened. There may be problem in the machine, or material whatever you have used may be wrong, or maybe any error happened in any place. You can again do the experiment. This is about the integrity, but at least you should not remove these two data and report. That is totally unethical. If you remove these two data and show that it is a straight line, that is totally unethical. That will not help you, and also it will not be helpful for others who are reading your paper, because they will come to the conclusion that when you increase the temperature, the particular property will increase. But really it will not happen. When you increase the temperature, it will increase to a certain level, then it may be flat or something, it may happen. So you have to repeat, and whenever you are giving your report, that should be ethical. So ethical thing is very important in the research, because whatever you are presenting in the paper, no, when I read the paper, I believe that you have given the correct data, but only the scholar will know whether he has given the correct data. Okay, even the reviewer of your thesis or the paper also cannot find whether the data are correct or not. So unless it is totally deviating from the trend, we cannot find. Suppose as the temperature increases, the property should increase, but you have given that it is decreasing, then the reviewer will question, this is against the normal trend, how would you get this? But you are showing the trend as normal, but whatever trend you are giving is not correct. It's the angle with respect to the x-axis, so the angle what you are giving is not correct, means again it is unethical. Then what are the common issues in data collections? Data collection without hypothesis, because some of you said after making the objective you will make the materials and methods, then start collecting the data. That is not correct. You have to make the hypothesis, then you have to collect the data. No connectivity between hypothesis and objectives. While fixing, when you are making the hypothesis you should aim to satisfy your objective. So that type of hypothesis only you have to take, then you have to collect the data to prove or disprove it. Then wrong selection of factors and levels. See, for every experiment there are you have to decide what are all the factors affecting the your result, and also in each factor how many levels you will take. 3 levels. Suppose you want to change the temperature, how many temperature levels you want to select? 3, 4 or 5. Why 3, 4 or 5? Then why that temperature? Suppose I want to change the temperature 30, 40, 50. 3 levels. Why not 60? If I go to 60, what will happen? Then why it is a 30, 40, 50, 60, 50? Why not it is a 40, 50, 60 or 60, 70, 80? How will you fix those levels? So selection of factors, selection of levels is very important. So if you make any mistake here, then after collecting the data while interpreting, you will find it very difficult. You will either, if you are honest, you will repeat the experiment, or suppose you want to somehow you have to send the paper and complete the thesis, so that is also possible. Then wrong selection of experimental design, not testing the data for reliability, validity, not analyzing and interpreting data immediately. These are all the issues. See, already we discussed, when you don't do this, then finally using the data is difficult. Okay, I have a lot of slides. I don't have the time now. So I'll do one thing. I want to give one exercise to you. I want to know how many of you are very fast in getting solution for the problems. How many of you think that you are very fast? Because I don't have much question paper, I have only 20. It's not the difficult thing, just you have to do some, it doesn't require UG or PG qualification. Okay, it's only 10th standard level. How many of you can do this, but at faster rate? Okay. Okay, you please do one thing. Those who can do, no, you come front. வாங்க, பண்ண முடியாதா? சரி, யாரால ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக பண்ண முடியுமோ முன்னாடி வாங்க. உட்காருங்க. You sit, I'll give. Because no, you sit, I'll give. No, உட்காருங்க. You sit here. Okay, the important thing is only 5 minutes. You have to take maximum 5 minutes and you have to complete this questionnaire. Okay. You just pass on the questions. Okay, others, just you see the question paper but don't answer. Okay, just you keep it, you go through this but don't answer. Okay, now the time starts. Time starts now. Be fast. Anything from here? What you will understand from this one? அவசரப்படக்கூடாது. See, once you get some problem, first you analyze, you go through it, you analyze, then you have to do the answering. See, the question is what you have to write the name and date, and the instruction in the at the top of the at the top it is given. Please read all the questions and then answer. But what you did, you started without reading the instructions. You started. Okay, this is so this is what required for the PhD scholars. See, that is the difference you will have between or compared to UG and PG. This difference you should have for anything, for even a small problem. First you have to understand, then critically analyze, then you just go through it for 2-3 days, form the hypothesis, then you collect the data, then you will get the answer. If you start doing the experiment without doing these things, what will happen? Either you will fail in giving the solution, or somehow you will manage, you will make the table and a chart, you will submit the paper in the paid journals, you will submit the thesis, but it will not be no use for you and also for the society. Society, I mean the scientific society, there is no use. So this is what expected from the research scholar. Okay. Okay, thank you. Already I took 10 minutes more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very interactive session. I think you got a nice information from our chairperson of technology. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.